Okay, calm your nerves down, junkie. I don't think this game is offensively bad. I do like it in some twisted way. But dear god, this game is goofy and janky, for all of the wrong reasons, of course. Either way, I want to make a video talking about it. Despite Half-Life 2 being well known, its deathmatch mode is honestly pretty obscure. To my knowledge, the original Half-Life deathmatch was more popular than its sequel. I mean, sure, Half-Life Deathmatch wasn't the most popular, but that's probably because quick-like deathmatch games were literally an invasive species at the time. However, Half-Life 2's deathmatch mode was pretty popular and initially had a good player base. So why is this game so unknown and not really talked about? Do people just not care about it anymore? Did other games come along and take players away from Half-Life 2 Deathmatch? Well, let me, a person who has enough time to talk about this for the next 8 to 10 minutes, talk about this obscure game. Yes, I have time somehow, I know. A person with ADHD has time, could you imagine that? Alright, here's some context that you'll need soon. Half-Life 2 was released on November 16, 2004. However, believe it or not, Half-Life 2 did not release with a deathmatch mode. This was odd at the time, because every single Half-Life game, well, except Blue Sheep, came with a deathmatch mode at its time. I mean, to be fair, arena shooters were already on their way out by the time Half-Life 2 was out. Multiplayer shooters at this time were trying to move away from the mechanically complex, super twitchy FPS games like Quake, and were trying to tap into something more casual and party game environment instead. Games like Halo CE, and even the original Counter-Strike are proof that multiplayer FPS games didn't need to be this ultra fast-paced, rocket-jumping fever dream that they were. Despite this transition of the broad multiplayer FPS games being a more casual experience, some people at Valve decided to do something about the lack of a deathmatch mode for Half-Life 2. So they would sneak work in their spare time to release a deathmatch component over time. This was a huge balls move. If you watched the Half-Life 2 documentary, you would know how much chaos was happening at the time at Valve. Half-Life 2's deathmatch mode would have needed a lot more time than Valve had. The people who were working on it were all basically like a Mexican hustling. Working on a multiplayer deathmatch mode at this time was honestly just a bad idea. This game was a make-or-break success for Valve at this time. It needed to be good. Eventually though, certain people would figure out that this was happening. However, it would not launch with the game due to the time it took to get this mode out the door for launch. Instead, they launched this mode with the Source SDK. That's right, Half-Life 2's deathmatch mode literally just popped out of nowhere. Like a suspicious black guy at 2 AM breathing behind your neck at a 7-Eleven. So yeah, if you couldn't tell, this project was kind of an afterthought. Despite that, HL2DM was actually well received and had a very healthy player base despite it being pretty similar to how it is today. Now if you don't have 2 brain cells vying for 3rd place, you might be wondering, why is this game not anything noteworthy today then? Well, the important thing to remember is context, my friend. At this time, HL2DM was one of the only Source Engine multiplayer experiences that existed. And with how groundbreaking this engine was for its time, people were craving for a multiplayer experience on it, like how a heavy smoker needs his cigarettes or else he implodes. Or just British people. However, that doesn't mean HL2DM was perfect. For starters, this game was seriously lacking content, and I mean really lacking content. Firstly, there was only 2 maps at release, and secondly, there wasn't even weapons like the Slam, Trip Mine, Stun Sticks, or even Crowbar. Like, really? I feel like a child that grew up on the sidewalks with how little we have here. The amount of content we have here is laughable compared to what we had in Half-Life 1 Deathmatch. Despite this, people were having a lot of fun with this game initially. However, the content I released was eventually getting stale, and apparently it was getting stale at an alarming rate. Updates would honestly start coming out pretty fast at the start of this game's life cycle. For about 3 years, I would say. Today though, HL2DM is one of Valve's most neglected products, and honestly that's probably due to the incredibly low player count and general age of this game. You might be wondering though, what would have been the reason why this game fell off, as the new kids would say? Well, that's a little more complicated. First of all, a reason for the decline of this game is simply Source Engine updates. Now that might sound weird here, but please bear with my insane brain that has 1 brain cell fighting for 5th place. Source has always had updates to its codebase over the years. The engine itself hasn't been the exact same one we've had since 2004. In fact, the engine has received multiple updates both under the hood and visibly. However, for the first few years of the Source Engine existing, Valve decided to use the same codebase for all of their titles. That's why, before February 2025, games like Counter-Strike Source and Team Fortress 2 were named HL2.exe in their executable. They were all modified from the base of the engine, which was basically Half-Life 2, and they never bothered to change the executable name to something like TF whatever the fuck it's called now, and CS Source or whatever the fuck it's called now. It's like a white guy trying to cosplay as a different race. Sure, you can possibly get close, but you're still a white guy. Your dialect just gives it away too much, what can I say? So when Valve would update, say, Team Fortress 2 with new engine features, they would usually push the same features to CS Source or other games that were on the same engine branch. Now, you might be asking, why is this important? Well, HL2DM did get worse over time because of one change that was made in 2007, which, drumroll please, insert it here, editing me, bunny hopping, or the patch of it. For the uneducated here, bunny hopping, or what I'm going to refer as bee hopping, is a movement technique that is used most primarily for speedrunning. However, some multiplayer games, especially on the Source engine, do use it. It can be used in multiplayer too, but in Half-Life 2's case, it was mainly used for speedrunning. Of course, I'm not showing footage of exactly HL2DM, but I genuinely don't feel like scrolling through YouTube to find old-ass footage of a game that I don't even have much footage of playing myself. Either way, bunny hopping in general is a massive movement technique across multiple arena deathmatch games. Hell, it was also popular in the original Half-Life Deathmatch. So, you would expect it to be in this game too, right? Well, wrong, but also sort of right. Believe it or not, this game did have normal bee hopping at one point. Originally, you could hop around like a poor waitress holding a hot plate in the wrong area. However, this eventually changed when the game was updated to the Orange Box engine branch. The Orange Box engine branch update to Half-Life 2 did remove bunny hopping by capping your forward movement speed, sadly. However, on the slightly brighter side, it did create this bug. If this bug gets patched, I hope Gabe Newell gets rammed by a wild boar. Anyway, ABH is great and all, but the bigger problem is that this update also got applied to Half-Life 2 Deathmatch. That was honestly for the worst, because bunny hopping is a critical component in Deathmatch arena games. So I think we could contribute HL2DM's fallout from surprisingly its big prime to the removal of this mechanic as well. Also, if we are going to say massive issues with the game that caused its popularity to go down, we can also talk about the server experience. Firstly, I dare you to hop on this game and find a good server that is vanilla, isn't riddled with ads, and doesn't have a lot of custom content or doesn't spoof their player count and ping. I fucking dare you to do that right now. Go in the game right now, stop watching this video and try and do it. If you happen to pause the video and do what I said in the last sentence, well, congratulations, you wasted your time. Like how a special ed kid in high school uses their extra testing time accommodation to go on a side quest and stare at the teacher's boobs. But I hope you get what I'm saying. The servers in modern day HL2 are awful, and I at the very least suspect they was still awful a decade and a half ago. Hell, even if you somehow get into an ideal community server, the game still feels awful to play with how janky the netcode is. Using the gravity gun is about as fun as getting kicked in the balls with how janky it is. Physics objects are just very jittery in general. Although I will say that the most recent update to the game did make the netcode a bit better than it was, but it still feels pretty spotty, so we can add that to the list of one of the reasons why this game never had a chance to find a true audience. So, yeah, my audio cut out, or at least the audio file I had for this little section corrupted for the next part, but basically it was just me complaining about why the hell is this game not built into base Half-Life 2. Like with Half-Life 1 Deathmatch, you kind of knew it existed from the get-go because it was literally at the main menu, even if it's like not like, oh, this is a play multiplayer button. But with Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, it's like its own client, so like you have to go out of your way to download Half-Life 2 Deathmatch and play it, which I guess is just the side effect of having both multiplayer and single-player Source engine branches and just having them separated. But I still think it's a negative on the game because like it's going to make the player base even smaller than it already is because people have to go out of their way to play the game. Yeah, anyway, let's just skip over to the final point. Now, the final reason of why HL2DM is less popular than it was before? Well, arena shooters were just very niche genre at the end of the day. Remember that at the beginning of the video I said that there was a whole climate in multiplayer FPS games changed? Well, that's kind of why this game fell out of favor. I mean, the lack of content at release and the fact this game has like been beaten and bruised by the Source engine updates doesn't help that much either. But arena shooters were just very inaccessible and were becoming less and less popular as time went on. Combined with the novelty of being one of the only Source engine multiplayer games wearing off, this whole game started to fall apart because everything around it was changing. Like if you were, say, a certified gamer in 2008, why would you play HL2DM when TF2 or Counter-Strike Source are available? I mean, if you deliberately wanted to play CS Source, I think you're an insane person when TF2 is literally right there. But regardless, I think you get the point. There's an obvious smaller incentive to play this thing. That and making it its own standard game and not being in base HL2 is a deterrent from trying it out in the first place. Even the anniversary of it didn't fix that, sadly, and I'm surprised they didn't even attempt to combine HL2DM and base HL2DM into one client. These are the three biggest reasons of why HL2DM is such a ghost town today, and why it's kind of average and not honestly that great. Yep, these are the reasons. Looks like we came full circle in this video faster than I thought. Kinda like a black kid in public school that keeps setting a new record every time he runs a mile lap in PE class. And look, just because I'm making this video doesn't mean I hate this game. You might have received that from how impressionable your brain is, but I swear, I do enjoy this game. Sort of. Its jank for all the worst reasons is honestly a part of its charm in a way, but of all the products Valve has, I think HL2DM is the worst one. Outside of Artifact and Dota Underlords, we do not talk about them, and we do not count them as household. But we do count Counter-Strike Source, because it is fun to make fun of. And Condition Zero for that matter. Now, do I recommend you playing HL2DM? Honestly, yeah, if you have a friend or two. To populate a server, of course. For the anniversary update, the game did get some awesome fixes, Steam networking support, and even got ported to the Team Fortress 2 engine branch, meaning that the netcode also feels a tiny bit better. So start up a server with Steam networking and grab a friend or two to play with. I guarantee that if you liked base HL2, you will at least get some degree of enjoyment out of this game, since you won't have to play on servers with super high ping or spoof their player counts. I mean, the game isn't still that great at the rest, but hey, it's actually playable, so we'll take it. Now, will Half-Life 3 have a deathmatch mode? Nah, that game isn't real at all. The next game this weird-ass company will make is Dota 2 Episode 1. Come back to this video when I'm right, because I know I 100% will be. White people are the closest to Nostradamus I think we have as a human species. I don't even know. I think I said enough in this video, though. If you dwell around the internet and like this video, consider subscribing for more videos on Source Engine games. I tend to do that here. But regardless, I'm going to clean behind my oven. I haven't done this in years, so I'll probably get a disease or something.